when I interview your wife, I'll have to keep my journalistic integrity as well. Be like, you're married to a hobo. What's that about?
That would be so awesome if you could do that. So, Neil, what's that all about?
What's that all about? Do you need help?
That would be so awesome.
Pass me a note if you need to collect it.
Hey there, welcome to the Cult Show, episode number 15. Can you believe 15 already?
Wow.
Crazy.
I feel like it's been 20, 25? Somewhere in there?
Only 15.
Only 15. Hey, so my name is Neil, and you are the sun, I am the moon. You are the song, I am the tune. Play me. Sorry.
Obviously not a Neil Diamond fan.
No, I was going to say, I have no idea. Is this a Game of Thrones thing? Like, I don't understand.
My sun and my
Yeah.
moon and my stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was not. Yeah, sorry, that was
Nope.
not.
Okay.
That was not Khaleesi and whatever his name is.
Yeah.
This
no.
was
Drago.
Drago. Thank you.
Drago.
This was Neil Diamond.
Oh, okay.
I felt a little Neil Diamond channeling through me for some reason.
We should go with it.
I should go with it.
When you feel it.
So
yeah.
anyway, sitting next to me today is the wonderful and very extremely precious
Precious,
Sandra.
talented. Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
and the
yeah.
very well inked.
Yeah,
shall we
very
say,
well
right?
linked. Yes, exactly.
Sandra, thank you
Yeah.
for being here again.
I love being here.
We
love
greatly
being here with
appreciate
you
it.
guys. Yeah.
So
happy to be here.
Sandra, of course, has the wonderful Genre Junkies podcast
I sure do.
with her lovely husband. Can I call him lovely? Is that okay?
Please
And I
call
want-
him lovely.
Scott's lovely.
He's
Very lovely.
super lovely.
I don't want to demasculate him, so I'm making sure that's okay.
No, lovely doesn't have to be gendered.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
no. Yeah, we
Okay.
do that. We do that thing, talk about books, horror, fantasy, and sci-fi. We're sort of the sister to the Cult Show, in a way. But
Yes.
books, movies. Yeah, we're like sister.
We are
sister
simpatico.
shows. Yeah, siblings.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Exactly. But we don't fight though. Do we fight?
we've had a lot.
We fight a lot. Okay.
Fight a lot.
Okay, let's check it. All right. So Sandra is here. Kelly unfortunately could not make it again, so we have Sandra sitting in. Thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
So, what everyone doesn't know is we just had an hour and a half discussion before actually starting the show
Sure did.
about everything. So,
our deepest fears and anxieties.
yep,
Yeah, we came through a lot of stuff.
we did.
Here on this couch. Yeah.
We moved through a lot of territory.
Yes.
Got to know each other really well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and of course, as always, we can't forget the wonderful Caleb.
Hello.
Also lovely.
Also, well,
Also
yeah,
lovely.
I don't
But
know.
not as lovely
Well,
as your,
I mean,
as your
let's-
lovely husband.
Let's not compare. You're all great.
We're all just one happy show.
We are.
So, and our studio audience, of course, is always here. Thank you guys
Yay.
for coming. We got the wonderful Wanda back as always. So thank you.
Yay.
We love the Wanda. Michael and Steven, thank you guys. We appreciate you being here.
Yes.
They've literally been sitting here for at least an hour and a half,
Yes.
listening to us warm each other up.
We just locked the door and they
So,
just had to stay here.
They could not get out.
No.
Yep.
No.
So, oh well.
Yeah. But we
They're here.
also we've got some exciting stuff to talk about.
We do have fun things to talk about, but as always, first we kind of start and just say, hey, what's going on in the world of Sandra?
Oh.
What has happened since we last saw each other? Anything fun or?
Oh my goodness! I was here
Interesting.
not too long ago.
It wasn't.
Let's
Anything new
see.
going on in Genre Junkies maybe or?
Genre Junkies still doing episodes every other week. We've got some great stuff coming up. Of course, we're coming up on October, which is when we do horror the whole month
Yes,
because it's the best time of the year.
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's really exciting. But other than that, yeah, we're still doing interviews, still doing all of our good stuff. So, yeah, having a great time.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I hate summer. I hate every season except Halloween. And it's not even October, it's Halloween. The whole month is Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I hate spring. Like
Spring.
April is like, I get depressed in April. Which is funny because the trees and the flowers and the birds are
you hate all
singing and
that.
the worms are chirping or whatever worms
are
do.
chirping. The birds are fertilizing the earth. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
The
you know,
grass
that's-
is raining. The
You don't even know about spring.
balloons
Yeah,
are
exactly.
the blooms are treeing.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a normal thing. So
You hate it
anyway,
that much.
damn chirping worms. So
Allergies.
allergies, everything that happens. But more importantly, the clocks get set forward, spring forward, so you lose an hour of sleep. It
Yeah.
stays light longer.
Who needs it?
I mean, all that stuff that just like depresses me
Yeah.
and people who love Halloween. Typically,
Yeah.
I think.
You don't need that
And then
negativity.
no, but then in
No.
August, you start to get little signs of like the leaves in your trees start
Acorns.
to get things start happening.
Stores start to put out a little bit of
autumn
Halloween
stuff.
and
Yeah,
autumn stuff.
exactly.
Yeah.
You start seeing that light.
Gives us hope.
And then
it
by
keeps us going.
it does. No, seriously, for me,
does.
it's like,
No, it
oh, I
does,
did it.
yeah.
So I actually don't hate summer as much as spring because summer means I can kind of see it starting to wind down.
Yeah.
And then by
That's fair.
September, you're like, woohoo, because the Halloween store opens.
Yep.
And I get to go every weekend, and they kick me out after a couple
Same
hours.
seas.
So-
Yeah, exactly.
But-
People think you work there, and it's like, I don't work here. I'm just here all the time.
And yet you can answer all of their questions
Exactly.
where everything
yeah, I'd
is
be happy to help
because
you
you've
put
been there
together
so
a
many
costume,
times.
and
yeah.
that's going to be on aisle 5, and
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
Do you guys go to Disneyland for Halloween?
I've been.
Because you're a fan of Disney, right?
I'm Disney tattoo. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
fan. I'm a fan.
You're
yeah.
a fan.
No, I love
Are you a
it.
fan of Low? Is that a thing? That's Barry's thing, sorry.
What is a
I
fan
do
of?
love Disney at Halloween. It gets into a weird time because then you get into the Haunted Mansion
Yeah.
turns into Nightmare, which I love. I love Nightmare Before Christmas, and I love the Haunted Mansion when it does that. But I like just the pure mansion
Yeah,
too.
no, I would agree with that,
Yeah.
ultimately.
And there's like all these new overlays and all this cool stuff, and I just really hate anybody that's at Disneyland around Halloween because I'm not going this year. Yeah.
Oh, geez, okay.
Yeah.
Do you go every, when do you go, typically? Is it the same time
Well,
of
I
year?
used to go based around races that I would run in Disneyland.
Oh, you would do that,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, did half marathons and some 10Ks down there. But they're on hiatus from that with all the construction, so I haven't been in, oh gosh, like 2 years.
So if I understand it right,
Mm-hmm.
and you can help me with this, and Caleb for that matter, you have to pay to enter
Yes,
the 10K or the races through the park.
sure,
And then when you're done, you still have to pay to get into the park.
you do.
So you're paying for the right just to
Right.
run through the park
Yes.
at a really early hour.
It's magical though.
Is it really?
It is amazing to run through the park when it's not open, and like they have like all the people that work there, like even the janitors and the maintenance people, they're all out there like cheering for you, and they play music.
I'm trying
like,
to sell you churros and
They try to sell you churros. Like one of the Star Wars ones I did, we had to run through this like dark tunnel, like backstage somewhere, and they played like Darth Vader, and it was like all Darth Vader talking to you about going to the dark side. You're just like, oh my God, this is so magical. Yeah, so it's worth it. It's worth it.
really.
And any timed run like that
You
you
always
do
have to
anywhere,
pay.
you have to pay.
Because they have to
Yeah,
control
but then you gotta
traffic. They have
and
to.
then they make you
yeah.
leave the park and pay to get back in, though.
Yeah, but
you
it's
would-
really okay. You can try to
Yeah,
hide,
really.
but then they're gonna know your timer didn't go off. So then they're gonna be like, "Where is she? She's in there somewhere." And they track you because there's a little thing. So
Of
you'd
course they track
you'd have
you.
to ditch your bib, like
They Disney track
yeah,
you.
yeah. But any race would do that. Yeah.
No, they probably wouldn't. That's a Disney thing. That really is.
They come find you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They probably tase you and
Well,
throw you in.
Throw you in Disney
they've
jail.
probably seen it all, like people trying to
Absolutely.
circumvent the.
Can't shock those people. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it's wonderful. But yeah. So I wish I was going.
But again,
Disneyland.
and all those people cheering you, they're being paid to cheer
Yeah,
you,
but that's
obviously.
okay.
So, and stop you from leaving.
Yeah, I'll take their fake love. I'll take it.
You're easy.
Yeah. Love me. Yeah.
That's like my life every day anyway.
Exactly.
You know how it is.
I will pay for validation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pay for love and usually it's
Well,
per the hour for me,
I
but
was
yeah, it's
gonna
okay.
say it's kind of different, but
plus the
okay.
motel, $5 extra for the
no, I use the
TV.
No, motel, dang.
Stay at the nice place with the continental breakfast.
Yeah, the dewdrop in.
Like in the movie. In the movie, remember?
Which one?
Maniac.
Oh, yes, the continental.
Yes.
Sorry, the
That's
continental
what I was
breakfast.
talking about. You know, he charges him $5 for the TV
sorry.
if he wants color TV.
Exactly.
There you go.
This all just went right over
I know.
Neil's head. Like,
Yeah.
not even.
No,
He was in a different
I was in a different
Motel.
He
different
was in
scenario.
Disneyland, apparently.
I was thinking about the Timberland Lodge or whatever. What's it called? What's it called?
It's owned by like the Timberland Boot Company. The Wilderness Lodge.
Wilderness Lodge, is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry. Am I mixing my getaways?
What? Country Bear Jamboree, huh?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
what?
I don't know. They have a good bathroom there because no one ever uses it because no one goes to the Country Bear place anymore. So
Well, I
Is
don't
that
think-
even open anymore?
No.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, no, the bears don't perform anymore. They do in Disney World, but not Disneyland.
Now they're just sad animatronics.
They sit there frozen in time.
Sitting there.
Yeah.
Just all like the moose on the.
Like Chuck E. Cheese at the end.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, poor Chucky.
Yeah.
I actually have a soft spot for animatronics. I don't know why, but
Like,
'Cause your friend
he
that-
knows in his
yeah.
heart they're not real.
No.
but they
are.
might be.
exactly.
could come
No,
alive.
I've
Yeah.
got a.
We've seen so many movies where they do. So
I rescued a Santa. I have a Santa in my closet that someone was throwing away, and I rescued it. And it's
Still
like,
have it?
and it's like he's like cockeyed. And so he used to go like, oh, you know, and
Yeah.
he'd sing songs and he'd move, and now he's like kind of like, you know.
Yeah, jerky. Yeah.
But I rescued it. And I
Wait.
still put it out every year.
you picked that up from my trash?
I mean, that
So-
thing is haunted. That's why it ended up in the trash.
I have lots of Halloween animatronics, so I really like animatronics, and I
think
feel
it's cool.
I feel bad for them. Like if anything, like the Lost Toys. Isn't that a movie about the Lost Toys? Pinocchio
Story?
or no? There's a movie with Lost Toys, Babes in Toyland or something. Anyway,
The toys that are
that people don't
broken
want
or
and you
thrown
know,
away or
Wanda's giving me the okay.
Misfit
so.
toys?
Misfit toys. is
Like
that-
in Rudolph.
Yeah, maybe it's Rudolph I'm thinking of. There you go. Anyway, I do that for animatronics. So you collect spiders.
I collect spiders.
I collect old
Totally-
animatronics.
These
and
are
I-
all very normal hobbies that everybody has.
For those of you that don't know,
Right.
Sandra has a spider rescue. So don't kill your spiders. Send them to
Can
Sandra.
you flash my like hotline down at the bottom
Yes,
here?
GentlemanJunkies.com.
Yeah.
Send them all. Send all your unwanted spiders to Gentleman Junkies.
No, just send me $99 to sponsor your spider. But yeah, you don't have to send the spider.
You too can sponsor a spider for $15 a month.
We need the music.
We do.
Really sells
I can
it.
play that. Just put them in an envelope, lick it, put it in the mail. Hey, here's my tarantula.
Right?
my
Yeah,
gosh,
she
I
likes
would-
tarantulas. She likes black widows, brown recluse.
And
Yeah.
I put the brown recluse, a personal favorite. And I just get like envelopes of dead spiders like, just everywhere.
Anyway, so as Sandra very cleverly mentioned, they went completely over my head. She mentioned the Maniac Hotel because we are going to talk about Maniac tonight, the wonderful film from 1980.
Yes.
Very exciting movie. One that I used to watch as a child. Again, it was up there with one of those films like The Burning and whatever else I used to watch over and over that, again, got my parents concerned about my watching habits of films. So,
And that's a
But-
pretty good one that would raise alarms if
Yes.
a small child is watching it a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
for sure. Probably like, you know, young teenage, 12 years and
you're
above.
fine,
But
that's
still,
normal.
that's an impressionable
Small.
age.
Yeah.
So, but it's a wonderful film because you have, in my opinion, a wonderful acting with
Oh,
Joe Spinell.
Fantastic
Very
acting.
freaky and moany.
A lot
and
of
grunty.
very grunty, grumbly.
Mouth breathy.
Mouth breathing.
Yes. Yes.
All those things.
Mm-hmm.
And you got wonderful Tom Savini special effects, which we have spoken about before.
Amazing.
And we will always
The
praise
master.
the master, yes.
Yeah.
The master of splatter. And then you have, of course, wonderful direction by William Lustig.
Fantastic.
And it's everything about the film. It's just a wonderful 1980s film that we want to talk about.
Yes.
Because we actually we have it here, believe it or not.
We do?
So for us to watch.
We have it here?
We have it here
My gosh.
in the bookshelf
Should I get it?
behind us.
Should I get it now?
I would say.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah. I've
We'll
never
talk
seen
about
it,
it.
so let's give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Wanda said yes. All right. Everyone said yes.
We got a first
Can you reach?
timer. Oh my gosh, I need my Freddy glove. This is awesome.
Maniac on VHS, of course.
Yes.
'Cause that's how we do.
We got a lot to talk about. There
Thank you
go.
very much. All right, Maniac from 1980. We're going to give this a watch as you put it in the old VHS. Whoa.
Ooh, it rejected
I
it.
was a little too
Too aggressive.
a little aggressive with my
Yeah.
VHS tape. Okay, so we're going to watch Maniac, and then we have a special treat from you. When we come back from the break, director William Lustig will be here in person to talk Maniac,
Right here on the couch?
right here on the couch.
All right.
How cool. Stay tuned.
Experience your favorite horror, comedy, and science fiction films of the 70s, 80s, and 90s on the big screen with the Cult Film Series at Roxy 14. Double features Thursdays at 7 p.m. Visit us on Facebook for more information.
Hey there, welcome back to the Cult Show. We just finished watching Maniac, 1980 Maniac. So, what do you think? You still a fan?
Love it. Still love it.
Yes.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, it was one of those films I loved growing up. I watched it all the time because, again, you had Tom Savini, which we've already talked about. I'm a huge fan of.
Same.
And you
Yep.
had a lot of the gore and just the grisly aspect of filming, especially like New York seediness, you know,
Absolutely.
in that movie. And I don't know how we got so lucky, but we're actually joined by the director, producer, and all-around wonderful man, William Lustig, sitting next to us. Everyone, applause for William Lustig, please. Thank you. Yes.
I got a cue.
Thank you. Thank you.
I got
Bill,
I got
thank
to beg
you.
for an applause.
Thank you for being here.
It's like I'm needy. I'm needy for applause.
So, how are you?
It's great coming to this basement, and it's kind of damp and
I know, right?
Yeah.
Damp, dark,
Um,
a little bit dingy.
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I know. But hey, so thank you for being here. It means a lot to us to have you here. Because again, we are big fans of the film. I think I've expressed to you enough in the past, at least I hope that I have, that how much I love that film and watched it a great number of times.
But you could say it again.
Okay.
Okay.
I love that movie, Bill.
Me too.
You did a wonderful job. So we're going to talk a little bit about it and find out what it was like to make it and work with Joe Spinell and all that fun stuff. So I hope you don't mind regurgitating information. I know you've probably said 100
Nope.
times, but hopefully we'll make it fun for you.
Good.
So Sandra and I are drinking a little bit of wine that'll help take the edge off eventually. And
You gotta have wine.
Yeah.
You gotta have a little bit of wine.
if it,
I'm having vodka.
but
Yeah.
there you go. Excellent. Good choice.
Dasani vodka.
These-
Sponsor.
It's Coca-Cola's brand of vodka.
Yes.
Dasani vodka. It's full of lots of added sugar and corn syrup. So it's really good for you. So hey, okay, Maniac. How did that script find its way to you?
We created it, Joe and I.
Okay.
Yeah, we created it. We brought it to a writer, and he didn't want to do it, but he gave it to his wife to work on. And then we took that script and we kind of threw out half of it and went out and made the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't a script that came to me. It was generated in-house.
Wow.
Oh, I like that.
So then how did Joe find his way to you?
I met
Initially.
Joe. I was working as a production assistant on a movie called The 7-Ups, and Joe was playing a thug, and he was the only person in the cast who would talk to me because I was a production assistant.
You were a lowly.
I was
Yeah.
a lowly production assistant, and Tony LoBianco and Roy Scheider were the big stars.
Wow.
Yeah,
Roy Scheider, eh?
yeah. Well, it was. I think it was pre-Jaws.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, he hadn't hit that stardom yet. But he thought he was. Same
it.
thing with Tony LoBianco. He was like, he thought he was the shit.
I don't recognize that name. What did he do?
I don't either, to be
He
honest.
did a great movie called The Honeymoon Killers. Did you
Add
ever
it to
see
the list.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
You've never seen it?
I haven't
Are
seen
you
it.
guys crazy?
You
That's
guys
a great
seen it?
movie.
We are.
Okay.
You guys have never seen The Honeymoon Killers? Oh my God. Well, let me tell you.
I
a
know.
little-
We're
Well, no.
Don't leave. Don't leave.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about it. the original director of the film was Martin Scorsese, and after a period of time, I'm not sure how many days it was, he got fired, and the producer of the film took over the direction. And the film really, really turned out like it's a great movie.
Okay.
I've seen it countless times.
That'd be before Mean Streets? You think?
It's pre-Mean Streets, yes.
okay.
And yeah, there's a couple of scenes in there that I've stolen and used in my movies.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, just the concept of them.
Yeah, of course. All right.
Yeah, there's amazing movie.
All right. Well, we're going to add it to the list.
I
then.
urge you. It's out on Criterion,
Okay.
Ooh.
and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they came out with a Blu-ray, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I know it's on their DVD, but
Got it.
it could also be Blu-ray. And yeah, anyway.
All right.
Love it.
So
We're
for
gonna
those,
have to do a screening.
no,
Yeah.
really, and for those
Yeah.
who don't know, Bill, by the way, is you can almost say you're an encyclopedia of movie history. I mean, you know a lot about film, and not just an American film, but also Italian and
Well,
overseas.
I mean,
so.
I was blessed when I grew up in New York. There were art house theaters all over the city,
Yeah.
and they would play repertory. They would do like 2 films for 2 days, then it would switch over, and very much the way Quentin programs the New Beverly. And but they were like all over the city, and they were showing movies. Like, it's incredible how many movies they would show.
Right. Like they had a full calendar that just changed every couple of days, basically.
Yeah.
And on the month calendar, yeah.
They didn't publish a calendar like the New Art and New Beverly does, but they would, and of course there was no internet. But you'd look at the Village Voice. That was the paper that you would look up, and you would see what movies were playing at which theaters.
Got
All
it.
the art house theaters would advertise in there.
So that'd be like newsprint, you mean?
Yeah.
Something you would
Yeah,
actually-
something you actually open up in
Yeah, and hold in
newspaper
your
and
hand.
get dirt.
Tangible piece
You
of
get ink
paper.
on your
Yeah.
fingers. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, I met Joe on the 7-Ups, and we both realized we had a love of horror. And for a period of time after that, we would get together when Joe wasn't working, and we'd go see movies, mostly on 42nd Street in New York.
Wow.
Again, it was a mecca of movies. There was like, I think there were 10 cinemas showing double features on one block,
Wow.
starting at 8:30 in the morning into the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah.
If you want to see the 42nd Street of that period, see Taxi Driver or Midnight Cowboy.
Okay.
That would be a good reference for that. Not that stupid HBO show, The Deuce.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, don't even waste your time with that. It's all bullshit in that show.
So that's how you met Joe.
That's how I met Joe.
And friendship came from that through the mutual love of
Yeah.
movies, and then of course horror. And eventually you guys said, "Hey, we should do something together. We should collaborate." And then
Yeah, it became a natural thing, and we worked on a script that we didn't get off the ground, but we did finish it, and we were trying to find something. The problem was raising money. I didn't really have a track record. I was in my early 20s. I had produced and directed my first adult movie. I was 21 years old, and so that was after I had met Joe.
Not on our set, by the way.
And it was we tried to get things off the ground, couldn't raise the money.
Right.
Finally, we got frustrated, and we took the script of Maniac, and we pared it down, and I had accumulated $30,000 from the adult business. Joe signed his check over from cruising, which was a $6,000 check. And my friend Andy Garoni had $12,000, I think, from some inheritance or something.
Wow.
And with a total of $48,000, we went out and made Maniac.
Wow. That's amazing.
That's what we did.
And but the idea of the story, which is this guy has some serious mommy issues, and therefore has to murder women basically to try and piece together something that makes him happy. Like, whose head does that come from? It has to start somewhere.
Well, actually, it came from the headlines because Again, it was luck. The 70s were a formative period for me, and it was a great period for serial killers. You know, I call it the golden age of serial killers. You had Ted Bundy, you had...
Ramirez?
What's that?
Ramirez?
No, he came after.
Is he 80s?
He was later, and he was in L.A.
Son of Sam?
Son of Sam with David
Zodiac?
Berkowitz. Well, they never caught the Son of Sam, but he was around, and he was doing his thing, and they were colorful. You know, Henry Lee Lucas, his mother used to dress him as a girl. You know, and you had John Wayne Gacy. Gacy was playing a clown at children's parties during the day, and at night picking up young boys, having sex with them, killing them, and burying them in his basement of his house. I mean, you can't make that shit up. And the one common denominator that we found with the serial killers were all had mommy issues of varying kinds, but they all came back to mommy. So what Joe did is he created a character that was a compilation of all these people.
Okay.
And that was reflected also in the horror set pieces, the murder set pieces that we had in the movie. It became kind of a little bit of a greatest hits
Okay.
Yeah.
of these people.
I was
Wow.
thinking about that with his den where he lives, and he's got all his dolls
Yeah.
and all his little trinkets and things.
Well, Joe propped that. He propped his own.
Did he really?
Oh, yeah. Along with this, the guy who built the set was also an artist. So some of that stuff on the wall came from, actually all of the stuff on the walls came from him, all the artwork. But yeah, Joe propped it. He took a lot of responsibility for his character. Keep in mind, he wasn't getting paid a nickel. He owned a piece of the movie, but he wasn't getting paid any money on it. And he turned down work to do Maniac.
No kidding.
Yeah, he did. He was offered while we were in pre-production. I thought for sure he was going to quit. He was offered the role of in Used Cars. Remember Used Cars? He was going to be. I think it was the role that was played by. What's his name? Can't think. His father was a big character actor. Bagley.
Pull it up.
Ed
Ed
Begley?
Begley. Ed
okay.
Begley Jr.
Yeah.
He was going to play that role.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, they offered it to him, and it was. I'll tell you right now, it was $10,000 a week, and well, Joe was getting big money as a character actor back
Yeah.
then, and he turned it all down because he said, "No, I'm going to make this movie."
Wow.
And yeah, I think also what motivated him, he once said to me that Warren Oates said to Joe, I've done a lot of movies, but the most money I ever made on a movie, Race with the Devil. I owned a piece, and so did Peter Fonda. And he said, and I made more money from that stupid horror movie than all the movies I've done.
Wow.
And Joe always had that ding, ding, ding in his head that there could be a pot of gold with making a horror film.
And did you ever witness him, for him, the happiness that he chose that role? I mean, was it
Oh, he loved it.
Yeah.
He embraced it. He didn't run away from it at all.
Well, I mean, yeah, it sure doesn't seem
yeah.
like it.
Yeah, no, he totally embraced it. When we were in Cannes, the first time we were bringing the movie to the marketplace, Sylvester Stallone was there, and Joe was pals with Stallone, and he walked down. There's a main street called the Croisette where all the paparazzi gather and everything, and Stallone wore a Maniac T-shirt, and so did Joe, and they were out there promoting. He was out there promoting the movie.
Was Frank with him? Frank Pesh?
No, Frank Pesh wasn't there.
I noticed he had a voice as did some voiceover for one
He
of the
did, yeah.
broadcasters or something.
He did the broadcaster, yeah.
Oh,
Wow,
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
I love it. Oh, I was going to ask you a question.
Sure.
One of my favorite things about the movie is the soundtrack.
Okay.
I'd love to hear a little bit about some insight on that, because
It's a good question. I mean, Jay Chataway, in our earlier vision of the movie, we wanted Goblin to do the soundtrack. That was our earlier vision, and we had been in contact with Dario and Goblin and all of that. But for one reason or another, it wasn't going to work out. So now we had no money, and we needed a soundtrack. And Jay Chataway had been quite successful as a music producer. And Jay had been producing for Fania Records, their salsa, their big salsa acts, but he wanted to have his own. He wanted to have his own his own one that he wrote and directed and composed and all of that. And that was, Maniac was his opportunity.
Okay.
All right.
And so, again, with very little money, I showed Jay Chataway all of the horror films to give him inspiration. I told him what I was looking for in the various scenes, and he would nod. He would take notes. And he wound up doing something completely different than what I told him. And I can't be happier. What he did was he keyed in to the sadness of Joe. And through his soundtrack, he in a very subtle way, created empathy for this monster. And you hear it in the opening theme when he's walking around his room. You hear it at various points in the movie. And it's a very, it's kind of subtle, but it does create an empathy for this character. And I think that's what distinguished Maniac from other Killer on the Loose movies of that period. It really was an emotional soundtrack, very much the way an Ennio Morricone would approach a score.
Okay. Wow.
No, I totally agree, because I find myself disgusted that I feel such compassion for him, but I do. And there's times when you kind of like him because you just feel something for him. But the soundtrack, that ties it all together.
Yeah,
Like that.
yeah, it made it unique.
Yeah.
And I owe it to Jay. And that's why we worked many times together after that.
Wow.
Because I trusted him not to listen to me.
Which other films did he score for you?
Vigilante, The Maniac Cop 1 and 2. And yeah.
Wow.
Fantastic.
That's excellent.
Always
Yeah.
did great work.
So, I guess can we bring up Tom Savini?
Please,
Maybe in
can
the
we?
special effects.
Yeah.
How did Tom get involved? Is it a matter of I made a phone call?
No, it was. I had seen I snuck in to a private screening of Dawn of the Dead before it was released, and I actually sat in the projection booth. Or I should say I stood in the projection booth for the 2 hours, watching it through the whole, and I just thought the movie blew me away. I thought it was fantastic. And the effects were outstanding. So now we're going to do this movie. I called up Richard Rubenstein, the producer, and he didn't know me from Adam. And I went to visit him, and he gave me Tom Savini's information.
Wow.
He was very nice to me. He gave me his information. He also gave me some tips on selling my movie, and he was very gracious.
That's good.
And so we call up Tom, and he's in New Jersey doing Friday the 13th.
Okay.
So Joe, myself, and Andy Garoni, we get in a car, we drive out to Jersey, and we meet with Tom on the set of Friday the 13th.
Wow.
And we tell him about our movie, and we tell him what we want and all this, and he's impressed about Joe Spinell, because he knew Joe from, Godfather, Rocky, and all that. And he said, well, look, guys, I'll do your movie, but you got to do me a favor. I don't want to return to Pittsburgh. I just broke up with a girl, and if you give me a place to live in New York so that I don't have to go back to Pittsburgh, I'll stay on and do your movie. And we did. I got him an apartment. After Friday the 13th, he went right from New Jersey to New York.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he had an apartment that he could crash at. And
How long was there in between end of Friday the 13th to the start of Maniac?
I think it was, I can't think it was more, I don't think it was more than 4 to 6 weeks. I don't think it was longer.
But you put him up for at least a month.
Well, he had to do pre-production. He had to do,
Yeah.
He had to make everything.
And his apartment also worked as his workshop.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it was his workshop. We actually even used it to do inserts.
Oh,
you
yeah?
know, to shoot close-ups. Like we did the scalping scene in his apartment, not in the
okay.
not in the hotel
In the
room.
hotel?
Right.
Yeah, that was shot in his apartment.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
So, you know, Yeah, yeah.
And of
So-
course, he's Disco Boy in the movie. As
He
well.
Well,
is.
the reason for that is Tom was going to get a nose job in New York, and he had this bust of his head that he could never use again to match what he with his current nose. So,
Let's blow it up.
Exactly.
so now he had this free prop, because of Tom Savini's upcoming nose job.
Yeah, rhinoplasty.
Because there's vanity.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was it.
And
So,
how many people get to explode their own head?
Of
I mean,
course.
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that, I mean, there's several threads here now that just came up that I wanted, but get back to the head exploding part in a minute.
We're gonna put a pin
So-
in the head explosion. Yeah.
Remind me.
I will.
Did you ever get to see anything like you talked about the scalping part? That is, to me, was an extremely effective
Oh yes.
gag.
Oh yes.
And so, like, did you get to see anything ahead of time before? Does he show you anything, or is it like he brings it in?
Yeah,
You guys film.
I saw
and-
it on the day. I don't recall him doing I don't recall a rehearsal of it,
Okay.
or him showing it to me or demonstrating. I just trusted him because of Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That everything he would do would be effective. Maybe it was foolish because I mean, it wasn't in the end foolish, but it was probably, if I had, you'd want to audition effects that are going to be important to the film.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, he did it and it was perfect.
Just roll film and
Yes.
boom.
and it
go.
was simple.
Makes me
Wow.
cringe.
It was simple.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. The most simple effects are the practical ones.
Oh, yeah.
And the
but-
best, they stick with
Yeah,
you.
they stick with you.
Yeah.
There's something people know the difference between CGI and
Oh, there's
practical.
no, yeah, there's no question. We've talked about that quite a few times on the show about the practical effects, and
Yes.
that's we love them. But so the exploding head
Yeah, we're taking
scene,
the pin out.
Take the pin.
Split-
Thank you.
Splitting head.
With my brain these days, that was from what you had mentioned. There's fun little stories with that part, such as Tom was the one who actually pulled the trigger.
Yeah, he doubled Joe, and he fired the double load shotgun into the windshield of the car.
Right.
And that was a real windshield. It wasn't a breakaway.
Right.
And what happened was the force of it and the fog that we were using was oil-based. So there was a sheet of oil on the hood of the car. So when Tom fired the shotgun, his legs literally came out from under him and he went flying backwards, and we didn't anticipate it, so we didn't have a mattress or anything on the ground, and he landed on concrete. But I was so worried about having just fired a live shotgun on the streets of New York that I grabbed the shotgun, and I had a sacrificial production assistant standing by.
Those PAs.
And I had the trunk open of the car, and I tossed the gun into the car, closed the trunk, and told him to drive to Staten Island.
So that was not a permitted shoot, obviously.
There's no permit in existence that will allow you to fire
No, I know
live
that, but I'm
ammunition
saying-
on the streets of
I'm
New York.
saying that
That's a good point.
On any
Yeah.
street in any city.
Right?
I'm being sarcastic and facetious.
As
So
per usual.
as
Yeah.
per usual, exactly. All right. So
That was actually, I was going to ask about that. Speaking of New York, so down there in the subway, it's absolutely, I don't want to say my favorite part of the movie, but probably the most intense part of the movie for me. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a girl, and that fear and that hopelessness when she goes into the bathroom. And I mean, she sells it so well. And she's sweating, and it's just like, oh, God, it's giving me chills and goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah, that was effective.
Yeah, I would say.
I remember Alex Aja was really impressed, and he used it for. Did you ever see High Tension?
Of course.
Yeah.
You know the scene in the gas station where she runs in the bathroom?
okay,
Bingo. Yeah.
that's pretty nice compliment.
Absolutely. Will great artists steal outright?
Right.
That's not
Yeah.
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 So
Was that guerrilla style, or did you have a permit for that
Well,
one?
okay, we had a partial permit. What it was? Firstly, we had. Okay, one of the best things in New York, as far as shooting, is to have a Gold Shield detective with you, and we had Randy Jurgensen, who I also met on the 7-Ups, and he had a gold shield. He was actually a real cop that Al Pacino depicts in Cruising.
Really?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was in French Connection. He was the cop at the police impound who's trying to stall the delivery of the car, and he's kind of bullshitting with the French guys.
Okay.
You say you did this, that's Randy. He was also in Sorcerer. He's been around a long time.
Okay.
Wow.
Anyway, I was blessed with him working with us on Maniac. And what happened was we had permission from the subway authority to shoot her coming down the stairs, going through the turnstile, and going towards the stairs. Okay? We did not have permission for her going down the stairs with the camera below and going up to a real subway train. No permission whatsoever. So what we did is we shot the beginning of the sequence. We shot in continuity. We shot the beginning. And then Randy, with his gold shield, takes the guy who was tasked with monitoring us from the subway department out to dinner.
Oh.
And he takes him out for dinner, and we bring our cameras down onto the platform, and we shoot all that footage with her coming down the stairs, with Joe coming down the stairs, and with her trying to get it. We even put a camera on the train to get inside the train, looking out towards her, and we did everything that we were forbidden to do. But because we had been shooting earlier, nobody ever questioned it.
Right.
Anybody who was working at the subway, they didn't know that we didn't have permission.
Right. You know, they're following up with
and
that.
then we kind of figured how long Randy would have this guy away, and then we got up and we went to the other portion of the platform to do the rest of the sequence.
Wow.
I love it.
The interior of the bathroom was shot in an entirely different location.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Wow. I'm just curious. In that bathroom, there was like "Apocalypse Now" written on the wall.
That's all our graffiti.
Was
I
that
was
your
going to say,
graffiti?
some of
That's
that
our
graffiti
graffiti.
seemed a little inside.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It
like
was.
it.
Yeah, I didn't do it, but other people, maybe even Joe might have had a hand in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was. Yeah, that was our graffiti.
That was your.
That was our graffiti.
I like it.
Yeah,
I love it.
washable graffiti.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's one shot that I love when he's coming down the stairs, and it's like I can't describe it, but it's like
It's an optical push-in. We did an optical
That's what I
push-in.
was going to ask. What that was? An optical push-in.
Yeah, it was an optical push. What we did is we blew up the frames. I wanted it to be kind of choppy and.
Oh yeah, staccato, like a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
it's always been something on my mind.
I know,
Thank
right?
you. Yeah.
Oh.
Isn't it like it's amazing to watch a movie for say 40 years or 50, whatever it might be, and then you suddenly like get to talk to someone who actually made it and give you all this.
How'd you do that?
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Apocalypse Now already on the wall, or did you guys do it? No, we put it on there. Joe probably did it himself for who knows. So
I'll tell you, I went with Joe to the opening, the first screening of Apocalypse Now in New York, and we had bought tickets, and it was at the big Ziegfeld Theater. The main, was the Ziegfeld was like the premier theater in New York, and we come in, and Talia Shire sees Joe, and she goes, "Joe, come here, come here," and then Francis Coppola sees Joe. He had done Godfather 1 and 2, and they go, "No, you don't have to. You sit with the family. You sit with the family."
Aw.
So, and I'm with Joe. Joe's going, "Come on." So we're sitting with the Coppola family,
wow,
watching the very first screening in New York of
Yeah.
Apocalypse Now.
Oh.
man.
Have you been up there to his place, to his winery?
I haven't.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, no, I got to go there.
You gotta
We
check
were
it out.
talking about that.
As soon as I get out of this basement.
If we let you out, that's why we're in the basement. Thicker walls.
Blocking the door.
That's right. Wow. Man, that's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else?
I wanted to ask some kind of general horror questions.
Sure.
of you.
Okay.
Can I, or do you have others?
No,
wanna
you go ahead.
first?
I'll bounce back if I need to.
You always do.
I always
yeah.
bounce back, yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you what was some of your favorite horror movies growing up and when you were younger that got you into it.
Well, I would have to say, I mean, there was so many. I mean, I would say Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte. I remember seeing that in the theater. I saw Psycho. I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it on television. And that, of course, impressed the shit out of me. House on Haunted Hill,
Ooh,
which
yeah.
also I saw on television, was one of those films that I found really scary. And then Carnival of Souls, a great horror film. And later movies like Honeymoon Killers and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I was into the Dario Argento. I saw Bird with the Crystal Plumage when it very first came out. I think I saw it opening day on Broadway. And I remember feeling really, I really felt the suspense in that movie. I felt my palms sweating.
Yeah.
It really got to me.
Wow.
And
behind the big glass, and you can't help the girl
Yes.
who you think is the victim.
well,
and,
the one that really
Spoiler
spooked me
alert.
was the girl walking across the park, which really was, I later realized, was a copy of The Cat People. But it was very effective. And I love the shot when the guy falls out the window and the camera does his POV.
Yeah.
And it even bounces as though it's his head. I thought there was so many great things in Bird with the Crystal Plumage, and that impressed me. And that sort of opened the door for me going to see a lot of Italian horror
I was
films.
going to ask, 'cause it seems like you have an affinity of
I
for
did.
Italian.
Well, I'll tell you
horror
why.
films.
Because I found I was never really a fan of the AIP, Crown International, California-made horror films.
Okay.
I always found them to look like television. And when I look at a European horror, it feels like movies. It feels like I'm, the inspiration, because television was slow in developing in Europe, cinematographers would use great artwork as a way of learning lighting. So when you see even the cheapest European horror films, they're really elegantly lit. And it's because of the training of the cinematographers there. Whereby in the States, it just seems to be very television oriented. It seems very much geared, towards let's see everything. We want to see everything in the frame, and the shots are very, I don't know, they're very flat. I find it that way.
I'm kind of curious again about Joe.
Yeah.
Back to his performance again in the movie with there was a lot of him kind of doing like a like really long
Those
carrying
sounds.
on, the noises
Yeah.
that he would make. Was that again something that came naturally once you're doing the scenes, or was that a scripted?
Well, it's not that it was scripted. Joe had asthma,
Okay.
and we used it.
Wow.
In fact, when we were mixing the movie, I'll tell you something funny. When we were mixing the film, Jonathan Demme was working on Melvin and Howard in the same complex. And Joe was actually in Melvin and Howard. He did a one-day thing in it. I don't even know if he gets credit. But we were mixing at night because I was getting a deal with the sound studio. And the way it works is that back then there was like this big console, different today, but it was a big console, and it was high up, and below was in the front was a couch where often the client would sit and watch the movie. But I'd like to sit with the mixer because I like to be able to give him direction and talk, with him. So Jonathan Demme and Joe Spinell would sit on the couch. And I'd forget they were there, except for they were smoking weed the whole time. So I would see smoke coming up, and the whole studio smelled of weed. And one time, the mixer had taken down some of that asthmatic stuff that Joe was doing. And I said, no, that's part of the performance, and put it back in. And Joe, I hear this voice that I forget Joe was there for, I hear, that's my director. Listen to him. That's my director. Listen to him.
So you're saying that was normal breathing though, or was that?
Yeah,
Basically,
sort
or
of.
is
He
it-
had issues with his, asthma.
Wow.
Wow.
If you noticed in Rocky, He's telling Rocky about, I tell you to break his thumbs, you break his thumbs, and then he goes in his pocket and he pulls out the asthma thing.
Yes.
And he sprays it down his throat. It's because it was cold out. He just played it.
Okay.
I feel it. He does it. That's what Joe is about. Joe is all about natural.
Yeah.
I love that.
He really. That's what made him a great actor. He was selfless.
Yeah.
He wasn't self-conscious about, this is it.
Because I almost think of that sound as part of the soundtrack too.
Yeah.
It's like part of the music of it.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, all lucky
Yeah.
things.
So there's a point in the film where you're kind of going down this path, and then it kind of hits a little point with the photography part, and Caroline Monroe, and everything comes into it. And I think you had mentioned to me in the past there's kind of a reason for that.
There is, and the reason for that was we ran out of money, and Joe knew Caroline from having done Star Crash with her.
Okay.
And Joe really protected her. Now, I don't know if you saw Star Crash, but she's running around in a little bikini. I think her character was Stella Star or Stella something, anyway. And she's running around in a bikini. Well, they're shooting this in the middle of the winter in an Italian Cinecittà, the big sound studio, which has marble floor, and it's the middle of the winter, and there's no heating. And this poor girl who never complains about anything, Caroline is not a complainer, is running around in this thing, and Joe goes yelling at the costume people, have somebody standing by with a coat, for this poor girl. Somebody's got to put a coat on her when we're not shooting. And he protected her. And Caroline never forgot that. Yeah. So they became close friends. Okay. Now, they had a Fangoria convention in New York. Caroline was one of the guests. Joe went with Tom to visit Caroline. And, what are you up to? What are you doing? Her husband was with her, Judd Hamilton. And he said, well, we're making this movie, but, we need money to kind of finish the movie. But, he just said it to them, not thinking that they would have anything to do with it.
Right.
And so Judd Hamilton says, I'll get you the money. And he did.
Wow.
And part of the deal was his wife was going to have, it was a small role, but it got expanded and it got padded, really. It got padded in order to, justify having her name above the title. And she was so lovely. She was really, really nice. And it allowed us to finish the movie. Wow. I mean, we had like one more week of shooting, and that was all shot in a few days.
Yeah. Oh wow, I'm glad it got padded because I love her character and I love that role. I love the humanization it brings to the whole situation. There's a natural chemistry between the two of them.
Well, it was the Ted Bundy
the little
riff.
charm, yeah.
The funny thing about Joe, you see, here's the thing I've learned in my life, that women, while attracted physically to men, what really draws them is if a man can make them laugh and entertain them, and they have a gift of talking.
I can concur with this.
And Joe, who was not classically handsome, he's not, he's not Brad Pitt, okay?
He's an average-looking guy.
Yeah, but he's probably has a villainous look to him, and Joe had some of the most beautiful girls. I mean, that were attracted to him. And, he dated some girls that were knockouts. Of course, he would always run after the ones that were trouble. If you said to Joe, you see that girl, stay away from her, Joe, she's bad news. Right. It was like, he couldn't get to her fast enough.
Right.
I mean, he married a porn star. And he had me go with him to a porn theater to watch one of her movies.
Oh, jeez.
While he was married to her, she ran off to San Francisco to do a movie for the Mitchell Brothers called Autobiography of a Flea. And there I am at a Times Square porn theater. I said, Joe, I'm not going to sit with you. So he's sitting several rows in front of me. And back then you could smoke in the theater, and Joe's smoking a cigarette, and every time his wife would say something so stupid that's supposed to be funny, but nobody's laughing, Joe would be laughing out loud. Oh, ho, 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 that's great. And you know, nobody else is saying a word in the theater. and that's Joe, you know. And so, you know.
Joe's sitting there doing the Robert De Niro from Cape Fear. Right,
Oh,
with
yeah.
a cigar.
No, he's smoking.
Yeah.
And then when we exit the theater, before we even hit the street, we're going through the lobby of the theater, he starts interrogating me. Now, when she was in this scene with this guy, she didn't look like she really liked it. She was, you know, you could tell she was faking, and, you know, and she only like licked it a little. She didn't really put it all the way in her mouth. And we're going through all of this. I'm being interrogated about his wife's sexual antics in this movie. She's the star of the movie. And he's questioning me about it. And then he wanted to go to San Francisco to kill the Mitchell brothers because he said they're the devils.
No.
You know, that
There's
was life with Joe.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine what it'd be like when one of your friends telling your buddies, hey, let's go watch my
I appreciate
wife.
that he was supportive of his wife's career.
Yes.
In fact, he's talking. In fact, if you watch Cruising,
Yeah.
the very beginning when he's in the squad car, he's the very first dialogue in the movie.
Okay.
Where he's in the squad car and he's talking to his partner. He goes, yeah, she ran off to Florida with her sister, and she took the kid with her. Yeah, they're all, I forget what they're all bitches, or they're all, I don't know, something with the,
derogatory.
yeah, they're talking, you know, but Joe they're telling the story of what his wife just did.
Ah.
She ran off to Florida to go with her sister, took their kid,
Okay.
went to Florida.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
oh my God.
So it didn't work out.
Oh, no, yeah, right, yeah.
Something about showing your friends.
Let me put it this way. They lived in a house in, I don't know if you guys know Toluca Lake,
Oh, yeah.
California. It's a quiet, suburban part of town. You know, Bob Hope kind of owns it, and they live there, and they called it their house was called the Amityville Horror House. One day we're at the Universal Sheridan doing something with the movie, and his wife is running down the hall with a gun after Joe. It was, I mean,
You can't make this up.
no.
Male spiders are almost always smaller than females. Sometimes the female eats the male after mating.